Ireland is a small island with a very big story. It sits on the western edge of Europe, a green jewel in the cold waters of the North Atlantic Ocean. Its nearest neighbour is Great Britain, just across the Irish Sea. This closeness has shaped much of Ireland's long and often difficult history. The island is known around the world as the Emerald Isle. This name comes from its rolling green hills and lush fields, which are kept vibrant by the plentiful rain that sweeps in from the ocean. The landscape is a mix of rugged coastlines, gentle valleys, and misty peat bogs. It is a place where nature's beauty feels ancient and powerful, a fitting backdrop for the countless myths and legends that have been born here over thousands of years. The people of Ireland are known for their warmth, their wit, and their incredible resilience. They have a reputation for hospitality that is famous worldwide. A stranger is often treated like a long-lost friend. This welcoming spirit has survived through centuries of hardship, including invasion, famine, and conflict. The Irish have a deep connection to their past and a great love for storytelling, music, and conversation. This is a nation of talkers and dreamers. The symbols of Ireland are recognized globally. The shamrock, a simple three-leaf clover, is said to have been used by St. Patrick to explain the Holy Trinity. The harp, another key symbol, appears on Irish coins and government documents, representing the nation's ancient musical heritage and its sovereignty. Politically, the island is divided. The Republic of Ireland is an independent country that covers most of the island. Its capital city is Dublin. The northern part of the island, called Northern Ireland, is part of the United Kingdom. Its capital is Belfast. This division is a result of a complex history that we will explore. Despite the border, the people of the island share a great deal of culture and history. They are connected by family ties, shared traditions, and a common identity that is proudly Irish. This shared heritage is a powerful force that often transcends political lines, binding the island together in a unique and enduring way that outsiders can sometimes struggle to understand. This essay will take you on a journey through Ireland's story. We will start in the mists of prehistory, with the first people who called this island home. We will meet the powerful Celtic tribes who shaped its early culture and gave us timeless myths of heroes and gods. We will see the arrival of Christianity, which transformed the island into a land of saints and scholars. Then we will look at the waves of invaders, from the Vikings in their longships to the Normans in their armor. This journey will cover centuries of struggle, the fight for independence, and the challenges of building a modern nation. It is a story of survival, creativity, and the unbreakable spirit of the Irish people. Ireland's story begins long before written records. The first settlers arrived around 10,000 years ago, during the Stone Age. They were hunter-gatherers who crossed over from Britain and Europe when the sea levels were lower. These early people left behind incredible stone structures that still stand today, silent witnesses to a forgotten time. The most famous of these is Newgrange in County Meath. This massive passage tomb is older than the pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge. It was built with amazing precision. On the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, a narrow beam of sunlight shines down a long passage and lights up the central chamber. This shows that these ancient people had a deep understanding of astronomy and the changing seasons. Around 500 BC, a new people arrived in Ireland. They were the Celts, a collection of tribes from mainland Europe. They brought with them the Iron Age, new farming techniques, and a vibrant culture that would define Ireland for centuries. The Celts were not a single unified group, but a patchwork of different kingdoms, each with its own king or chieftain. They were fierce warriors who loved feasting, poetry, and art. Their society was organized around a strict class system that included nobles, druids, priests and scholars, and common farmers. The Celts never built large cities. Instead, they lived in small farming communities and defended themselves in ring forts, which were circular enclosures protected by earthen banks. The Celts had a rich oral tradition. They did not write down their history or stories. Instead, this knowledge was passed from one generation to the next by trained storytellers and poets. These tales are filled with magic, adventure, and powerful emotions. They tell of brave heroes like Cuchulainn, who defended Ulster single-handedly against an entire army. They speak of the Tuatha De Danann, a mythical race of gods and goddesses with supernatural powers who were said to have ruled Ireland before humans. These myths explain the creation of famous landmarks and the origins of ancient families. They are a window into the Celtic soul, revealing a worldview where the natural and supernatural worlds were deeply intertwined. This Celtic culture became the foundation of Irish identity. Their language, known as Gaelic, evolved into the modern Irish language that is still spoken today. Their unique artistic style, with its swirling spirals and intricate knotwork, can be seen in ancient metalwork and stone carvings. Even after Christianity arrived and new invaders came to Ireland, the influence of the Celts remained incredibly strong. Their stories were eventually written down by Christian monks, preserving a priceless cultural treasure. The legacy of the Celts is not just in museums or history books. It lives on in the language, music and spirit of the Irish people, a continuous thread connecting the present to the distant past. The arrival of Christianity in the 5th century marked a profound turning point in Irish history. Before this, the Irish people followed the polytheistic religion of the Celts, led by their Druid priests. While there were some early Christian communities, the new faith is most famously associated with St. Patrick. According to tradition, Patrick was a Romano-British man who was captured by Irish raiders as a teenager and brought to Ireland as a slave. He later escaped, became a priest, and returned to the island as a missionary. He successfully converted many Irish kings and their people. Patrick and other missionaries managed to blend Christian teachings with existing Celtic traditions, which helped the new religion take root and flourish. Ireland was never conquered by the Roman Empire, which meant its society developed in a unique way. While the rest of Europe fell into a period of decline after the fall of Rome, Ireland entered a golden age. Irish monasteries became great centres of learning and art. Monks in places like Clonmacnoise and Glendalough painstakingly copied and decorated religious texts, creating masterpieces like the Book of Kells. These illuminated manuscripts are famous for their stunningly detailed artwork, which combines Christian symbols with Celtic designs. Irish monks also travelled across Europe as missionaries, founding monasteries in Scotland, England, and as far away as Germany and Italy. They helped to preserve classical learning and spread Christianity throughout the continent. This peaceful era of saints and scholars was shattered by the arrival of the Vikings at the end of the 8th century. These fierce warriors from Scandinavia came in their iconic longships, first to raid and later to settle. They targeted wealthy monasteries along the coasts and rivers, stealing gold, silver, and other treasures. The Vikings were skilled sailors and traders, and they established Ireland's first towns, including Dublin, Waterford, and Limerick. For over 200 years, they fought with Irish kings for control of the island. The conflict finally came to a head in 1014 at the Battle of Clontarf, where the Irish High King Brian Boru won a decisive victory against a Viking-led army, breaking their power for good. A century and a half after the decline of the Vikings, a new wave of invaders arrived, the Normans. These were French-speaking knights who had already conquered England in 1066. In 1169, a group of Norman lords came to Ireland, initially invited by an Irish king to help him in a local dispute. However, the Normans saw an opportunity for conquest. Led by powerful figures like Richard de Clare, known as Strongbow, they quickly captured Dublin and large areas of eastern Ireland. They built formidable stone castles to defend their new lands, many of which still dominate the Irish landscape today. The Normans slowly intermarried with the Irish elite and adopted many local customs, becoming, as it was said, more Irish than the Irish themselves. Their arrival marked the beginning of centuries of English involvement in Irish affairs. The Norman invasion began a long and complicated relationship between Ireland and its powerful neighbour England. For centuries, the English crown tried to assert its control over the entire island, but its authority was often limited to an area around Dublin known as the Pale. Beyond the Pale, Gaelic Irish chieftains and semi-independent Norman lords continued to rule according to their own laws and customs. Things changed dramatically in the 16th century during the Tudor dynasty. King Henry VIII of England broke with the Catholic Church in Rome and declared himself the head of the Church of England. He then tried to impose this Protestant Reformation on Ireland, a deeply Catholic country. This religious difference created a new and bitter source of conflict that would last for centuries. The Tudors and their successors, the Stuarts, carried out a policy of conquest and colonization. They fought a series of brutal wars against rebellious Irish chieftains, such as Hugh O'Neill in the 9 Years' War. After defeating the Irish, the English crown confiscated vast amounts of land and gave it to Protestant settlers from England and Scotland. This was known as the plantation policy, and the most successful of these was the plantation of Ulster in the early 17th century. This created a large and distinct Protestant community in the north of Ireland, laying the groundwork for the future division of the island. These policies sowed deep resentment among the native Irish Catholic population, who had been dispossessed of their land and power. The 17th century was a time of immense violence and upheaval. An Irish Catholic rebellion in 1641 was followed by a bloody civil war and the devastating conquest of Ireland by Oliver Cromwell and his Puritan army. Cromwell's campaign was notorious for its cruelty, particularly the massacres at Drogheda and Wexford. After his victory, even more Catholic land was confiscated and given to his soldiers. Later in the century, Ireland became the battleground for a European war between the Catholic King James II of England and the Protestant William of Orange. William's victory at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690 is still celebrated by Protestants in Northern Ireland today and remains a symbol of division. Following these defeats, the victorious Protestant elite in Ireland passed a series of harsh laws known as the Penal Laws. These laws were designed to crush the Catholic population and secure Protestant dominance. Catholics were forbidden from voting, holding public office, buying land, or receiving a proper education. The Irish language was suppressed, and Catholic religious services were restricted. The goal was to eliminate Catholicism and Irish culture. While these laws were not always strictly enforced, they created a society of deep inequality and injustice. Despite this oppression, the Irish Catholic identity survived, and a desire for freedom and self-rule began to grow, leading to a series of rebellions inspired by revolutions in America and France. The 19th century brought Ireland its most catastrophic event, the Great Famine. By the 1840s, a large portion of the rural population, especially the poor Catholic tenant farmers, had become completely dependent on the potato for food. It was a crop that could grow in poor soil and feed a large family on a small plot of land. In 1845, a disease called potato blight appeared, destroying the crop across the country. The blight returned year after year, leading to mass starvation and disease. The British government's response was slow, inadequate, and honestly, often hindered by a belief that interfering with the market was wrong. While Ireland was starving, large amounts of other food like grain and cattle were still being exported to England. The consequences of the famine were devastating. It is estimated that about 1 million people died from hunger and related diseases, such as typhus and cholera. Another million people were forced to emigrate to escape the horror. They boarded crowded, disease-ridden vessels, which became known as coffin ships, to start new lives in places like the United States, Canada, and Australia. This mass emigration continued for decades after the famine, fundamentally changing Irish society. The population of Ireland fell dramatically and has still not returned to its pre-famine level. The famine left a deep scar on the national psyche, creating lasting bitterness towards British rule, which was widely blamed for the scale of the tragedy. In the midst of this despair, a powerful new movement was growing: Irish nationalism. The famine had convinced many that only an Irish government could truly look after the interests of the Irish people. Political leaders like Daniel O'Connell had earlier campaigned for Catholic emancipation, which was achieved in 1829, and later for the repeal of the Act of Union that made Ireland part of the United Kingdom. After the famine, new nationalist groups emerged, some advocating for peaceful political change, like the Home Rule movement, while others, like the Fenians, believed that only a violent rebellion could achieve an independent Irish republic. This growing desire for self-determination became the dominant force in Irish politics. Alongside this political awakening, there was a cultural revival. Towards the end of the 19th century, many Irish people felt that their native culture was in danger of disappearing. The Irish language was in steep decline, spoken only in small pockets on the western seaboard. In response, scholars and enthusiasts founded organisations like the Gaelic League to promote the Irish language and the Gaelic Athletic Association, or GAA, to promote traditional Irish sports like hurling and Gaelic football. At the same time, writers like W.B. Yeats, Lady Gregory, and J.M. Synge led the Irish literary revival, creating plays and poems based on Irish myths and folklore. This cultural renaissance helped to build a strong sense of national identity and pride, fueling the growing movement for political independence. The early 20th century was a time of intense political turmoil in Ireland. The campaign for Home Rule, which would give Ireland a limited form of self-government within the British Empire, seemed close to success. However, it was fiercely opposed by the Protestant Unionist community in Ulster, who feared being ruled by a Catholic-majority parliament in Dublin. They formed a paramilitary group, the Ulster Volunteers, and threatened to resist Home Rule by force. In response, Irish nationalists formed their own armed group, the Irish Volunteers. By 1914, Ireland was on the brink of civil war, but the outbreak of World War I put the issue on hold. A small group of radical nationalists, however, believed that the war offered an opportunity to strike for full independence. On Easter Monday 1916, members of the Irish Republican Brotherhood and the Irish Volunteers seized key buildings in Dublin and proclaimed an Irish Republic. The Easter Rising was crushed by the British Army within a week, and its leaders were executed. At first, the rebellion was unpopular with the public, but the harsh British response and the executions turned the rebel leaders into martyrs. Public opinion shifted dramatically in favour of the rebels' cause. In the 1918 general election, the nationalist Sinn Féin party, which supported an independent republic, won a landslide victory across most of Ireland. Sinn Féin's elected members refused to take their seats in the British Parliament. Instead, they established their own Irish Parliament, Dáil Éireann, in Dublin, and declared independence. This led to the Irish War of Independence, which lasted from 1919 to 1921. It was a brutal guerrilla war fought between the Irish Republican Army, led by Michael Collins, and British forces, including the notorious Black and Tans. The conflict ended with the Anglo-Irish Treaty in 1921. The treaty created the Irish Free State, a self-governing dominion within the British Empire, for 26 of Ireland's 32 counties. The remaining 6 counties in the north, which had a Protestant majority, became Northern Ireland and remained part of the United Kingdom. This division of the island is known as partition. The treaty caused a bitter split in the nationalist movement. One side, led by Michael Collins, accepted it as a stepping stone to full freedom. The other side, led by Eamon de Valera, rejected it because it did not create a full republic and required an oath of allegiance to the British monarch. This disagreement led to the Irish Civil War from 1922 to 1923, which pitted former comrades against each other. The pro-treaty side won, but the war left a legacy of deep bitterness that dominated Irish politics for decades. Over time, the Irish Free State gradually cut its ties with Britain, finally declaring itself a fully independent Republic of Ireland in 1949. However, the division of the island remained, and the status of Northern Ireland would lead to a new and violent conflict known as the Troubles. For much of the 20th century after independence, the Republic of Ireland was a relatively poor, conservative and agricultural country. It was economically protectionist, meaning it had high taxes on imported goods to protect local industries. This led to slow growth and high rates of emigration, as many young people left to find work in Britain and America. A major change came in 1973, when Ireland joined the European Economic Community, now the European Union. Membership brought significant investment in infrastructure and agriculture, opening up new markets for Irish goods. This began a slow process of modernisation, moving Ireland away from its traditional reliance on farming and towards a more diverse and open economy. The most dramatic economic change occurred in the late 1990s. Ireland experienced a period of phenomenal economic growth that became known as the Celtic Tiger. The country attracted huge amounts of foreign investment, particularly from American technology and pharmaceutical companies. They were drawn by Ireland's low corporate tax rate, its educated English-speaking workforce, and its access to the European market. Cities like Dublin and Cork were transformed, with new office buildings and apartment blocks rising rapidly. For the first time in its modern history, Ireland became a country of immigration, as people from all over the world came to work there. It was a time of great optimism and newfound national confidence. This period of rapid growth was not without its problems. The Celtic tiger boom was fueled by a massive property bubble. Banks lent money recklessly, and property prices soared to unsustainable levels. When the global financial crisis hit in 2008, the bubble burst spectacularly. The Irish banking system collapsed, and the country was plunged into a deep recession. The government was forced to accept a bailout from the European Union and the International Monetary Fund, and introduce years of painful austerity measures, including tax increases and cuts to public services. It was a difficult and humbling experience for the nation, but the economy has since recovered, once again showing strong growth in the tech and pharma sectors. Today, the Republic of Ireland is a prosperous, modern and outward-looking European nation. Its politics are still dominated by the two main parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, which emerged from the opposing sides of the Civil War, though this dominance is now being challenged by other parties like Sinn Féin and the Green Party. Ireland plays an active role in international affairs, particularly through the United Nations and the European Union. The country has navigated the challenges of Brexit, its closest trading partner leaving the European Union, and continues to position itself as a global hub for business and technology. It has successfully transformed itself from one of Europe's poorest countries into one of its most dynamic economies. Irish culture is a rich and vibrant tapestry that is celebrated all over the world. At its heart is a deep love of language, music, and sociability. The Irish language, also known as Gaelic or Gaeilge, is the nation's first official language. Although English is spoken by everyone, the Irish language is a vital part of the national identity. It is taught in all schools, and there are regions known as the Gaeltacht, primarily along the west coast, where it is still the main language of the community. In literature, Ireland has produced some of the world's greatest writers, including 4 Nobel Prize winners. The works of authors like James Joyce, W.B. Yeats, Samuel Beckett, and Seamus Heaney have had a profound impact on world literature. Music and dance are central to Irish life. Traditional Irish music, with its lively reels and jigs and its hauntingly beautiful slow airs, is famous worldwide. It is a living tradition, often enjoyed in informal sessions in pubs, where musicians gather to play instruments like the fiddle, tin whistle, Willian pipes, the Irish bagpipes, and bodhran, which is a handheld drum. Irish dance, with its fast, intricate footwork and rigid upper body, was popularised globally by shows like Riverdance. These art forms are not just for performance, they are a core part of social gatherings and community life, connecting people to each other and to their shared heritage. They are an expression of joy, sorrow, and the enduring spirit of the people. Sport plays a huge role in Irish society. The most popular sports are those organised by the Gaelic Athletic Association. Gaelic football is a fast-paced game that combines elements of soccer and rugby, while hurling is an ancient field game played with a wooden stick, called a hurley, and a small hard ball known as a sliotar. It is considered the fastest field sport in the world. The All-Ireland finals in these sports, held at Croke Park in Dublin, are the biggest sporting events of the year, drawing huge crowds and passionate support from every county. These amateur sports are deeply embedded in the community, with local clubs forming the heart of parishes across the country. Ireland is also a land of festivals and traditions. The most famous is St. Patrick's Day on March 17th, which has become a global celebration of Irishness, marked by parades and festivities around the world. Other important festivals include Halloween, which has its roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. Irish hospitality is legendary, and the pub is often the centre of social life, a place for conversation, music, and the crack, a term for news, gossip, fun, and enjoyable conversation. These cultural traditions, from the language and literature to the music and sports, are the threads that weave together the unique fabric of Irish identity. Modern Ireland is a country that has undergone remarkable social change. For most of its history as an independent state, the Republic of Ireland was a deeply conservative society, where the Catholic Church had immense influence over politics, education, and healthcare. However, in recent decades, that influence has declined significantly. A series of scandals involving the Church, combined with growing urbanization and exposure to global culture, has led to a more secular and liberal society. This transformation was clearly demonstrated by 2 historic referendums. In 2015, Ireland became the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage by popular vote, and in 2018, the country voted decisively to repeal the constitutional ban on abortion. This new, more open society is reflected in its diverse population. The economic boom of the Celtic tiger and continued prosperity have attracted immigrants from all over the world, particularly from Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa. This has made Irish society more multicultural, especially in the cities, bringing new foods, languages, and traditions. While this has brought great benefits, it also presents challenges of integration and social cohesion. Ireland is learning to navigate the complexities of being a modern, multicultural nation, while still holding on to its own unique cultural identity. It is a delicate balancing act between embracing the new and honoring the old. As it looks to the future, Ireland faces several key challenges. The housing crisis, particularly in Dublin, is a major issue, with soaring rents and a shortage of affordable homes. The healthcare system is under constant pressure, with long waiting lists for appointments and procedures. Externally, the consequences of Brexit continue to unfold, reshaping Ireland's relationship with its closest neighbour, the United Kingdom, and creating new questions about the future of the border and the island's economy. There is also growing political debate about the possibility of Irish unification, as demographic changes in Northern Ireland and the impact of Brexit have brought the issue to the forefront of discussion for the first time in generations. Despite these challenges, Ireland's story is ultimately one of resilience, creativity, and hope. From its ancient Celtic roots to its modern place at the heart of Europe, the nation has shown an incredible ability to adapt and reinvent itself. It has survived invasion, famine, and conflict to emerge as a confident and dynamic country. The Irish spirit, forged in hardship and celebrated in culture, continues to thrive. It is this unique blend of tradition and innovation, of honoring a deep and complex past while boldly embracing the future, that defines Ireland today. The Emerald Isle's journey through time is far from over, and its global impact continues to be far greater than its size would suggest.